Hello and welcome to the first lesson in our video editing course. What you're going to find with these lessons is I'm going to try to be concise. I don't want to give you too much at any given time because I don't want to send you into information overload. I want you to be able to take the ideas that I share with you in any given lesson and go to work on applying them so that you're in a position to pick up where we left off in the next lesson. So today what I want to do is introduce you to the software that I use, CyberLink PowerDirector Express, and I'm going to share with you some of the basics of this particular software so that you can start making some simple edits and producing some basic videos. So let's take a look at the software. What you're going to see is I already have the software open on my screen because I'm using it to capture, to get a screen recording of what I'm showing you, and I'll show you how to do that later on in the video. So that's nice. Not every editing software has the screen capture capabilities, and that's something I do like about this particular software. Now, I'm in the timeline mode of PowerDirector 16. I do also have PowerDirector 15 on this computer. I will probably show it to you at some point in these lessons later on down the road, because I do want you to understand, even if at the time that you're viewing these videos, if you have PowerDirector 17, which will come out at some point, the program is going to be very similar. The layout's going to be very similar. I've been using PowerDirector for years. It's a very functional piece of software, and they're very consistent from version to version so that you don't get lost. You don't have to start from square one, and that's something I do appreciate because I know different software companies that sometimes completely change their layout, and then you're lost. You don't know where the things that you've been using for years are anymore, and that can be frustrating. So you'll see the layout is pretty similar. The reason I have PowerDirector 16 right now is it just came out, and I did want to be up to date when I was filming this course for you. Okay, so when we open up our window, again, this is the timeline mode, which is basically their full feature editor, which is what I want. I don't want to use any sort of templates to help me render a video. I want to have complete and total control over what I'm producing. So when you open up the timeline editor or the full feature editor, what you find are these files that are already populated here. And I'm going to select them because I'm not going to be using them. I'm going to select them and I'm going to click delete. Now, at this point then we need to know how are we going to get the files that we need to work with in the program. And one way to do it is to go to File, Import, and we could import a complete media folder. Perhaps we've been working on a project, and if we go to Desktop here, you can see we just finished releasing our bloopers video a month or so ago. All of the files I needed to create that project were in the bloopers folder, and if that's what I was working on now, I could click it and the program would immediately be populated with those files. But I don't want to, I only want to work with a couple files right now, so I'm not going to select a folder. Instead, we are going to select Media Files, and this is already open because I was working with it earlier. This is our folder that contains our vlogging project. We recently decided to create our first ever vlog of a trip we took to Mount Tom to capture some video footage with our drone and some martial arts video tips. So I want to select just a few of those files today to show you some of the basics of the program. I'm going to highlight, I'm going to drag and select these files here, and then I'm going to click open, and you'll see, here we go, we have our files. Now, if I had this populated, maybe I did select a whole folder worth of files, and I'm trying to find what's that first scene that I need. You can select the file from your workstation here, and you can play back the video over here. And you can see I can drag and I can change where I am in the video. I can also expand this. I can do it a couple ways. I can make it full screen just by double clicking if I want to watch the video. You can click escape, or I can click the X, and if I click it, it'll bring us back to that window. And I can also undock this. So right now what I'm trying to do is show you really how cooperative this program is. And it is really intuitive. I can undock this and I can expand the window. PowerDirector gives you a lot of control over the program where you want things. So I can move this all over. I can make it as big or as small as I want. Now, because of the size it is, when I redock it, you're going to see that the window sizes have changed. And I can grab this and I can drag it, and I can make this as small as I want up to, I guess, this point here, and I can make this again as small as I want up to that point there, or anywhere in between. So it's really functional. It's really responsive to what you want it to do, and responsive in a very intuitive way. Okay, so this is how we can find our files. Now let's say we found the file. We're going to start with this particular file and we want to work with it. Well, we need to drag it down into our timeline. And once it's in our timeline, I can start making changes to the video. Or maybe in this instance, maybe everything is how I want it. Maybe I was shooting a home movie that I want to release, and these 3 clips here are the 3 videos that we shot in our day's worth of home movies. And I want to render this video. I could drag them in the timeline as long as they're touching. You can see here there's a space between them. If I drag it so that that blue line appears, that indicates that they're touching, and then that means that from clip to clip, you can see there's no gap. Now that transition wasn't very nice, was it? Well, that's what we're going to look at now. I'm not making a home movie. I'm going to delete this from my timeline, and I'm also going to delete this from my timeline for right now. I'm not making a home movie, so I need to cut out any excess fat, and I'm going to show you how, when shooting a video with one camera, in this case we start with this clip inside in our waiting room, we walk into the stairway, down the stairs, and out the door, and we're going to look at how we can make that a nice video that maintains continuity from scene to scene with one camera. So we have to make some adjustments to this clip. We have to trim this clip. I'm going to show you with these 3 clips that we're working with different ways that you can do that. The first way is I've selected this clip, and I'm going to click the trim unwanted portions from the selected clip. I'm going to click the scissor icon, and a window is going to open up. And this window is very responsive as well. I could completely expand it. I could grab it and resize it. Again, I just want to point out how responsive the program is for you. Now, I currently don't have any sort of business, professional relationship, affiliate relationship with Cyberlink as I'm filming this. If that does happen down the road, it's because I believe in the software. I've been using it for years. I think it's a really powerful piece of software, and I do think it's really functional and intuitive in a way that you don't have to be overly technical to figure out what you need to do what you want to do. So we want to make some cuts here. I can grab this and drag it anywhere I want. I can click play, and when I do, you're going to hear me indicate that we should start walking. So that's the stage direction I'm giving as we start the video, because I wanted, when we were shooting this, I knew I wanted to cut to the action of the clip. I didn't want to start off just standing still, so I wanted to get us walking before we really started having a conversation. And so I'm going to cut that out. So I'm going to play. Whoops, there we go. Walking. And I think that's good. I'm not going to be too much of a perfectionist here today, but if I didn't like where it was, if there's a very specific moment I'm looking for, that's what these buttons are for. You can move back frame by frame, you can move forward frame by frame. When you found the position that you want to be your in position for the clip, you click the mark in option. And then I can continue playing, but I know that it's farther on down here. I want to cut to the point where this door is closing. So you can already see that we've exited the frame of the shot. But to maintain continuity, what I did was I closed the door when the camera was on this side, and then we repositioned the camera, and I closed the door again because I knew I wanted to cut to the action, and I wanted to do it in a way where the shot, like I said, maintains that continuity. So it looks right there, I'm just eyeballing it, it looks like that door is about to close. So I'm going to make that our mark out position. And there we go. You can just showing you that that's pretty, it's right before the door closes. Now why did I choose that position? Well, I'm going to click OK. We'll look at all this stuff here at a later time. We can also use this side to do our edits as well. And I have, in some instances, the project that I was working on, what I was trying to accomplish, necessitated typing in the mark in and out position. But this is the simple way to get you started. When I click OK, you can see those changes were made. So now, okay, so here's the plan. The video starts with the conversation. I can click on the timeline. By the way, I think I've done that a couple times. I can click up here and drag anywhere I want, or I could use this this marker and drag anywhere I want. So very often you have many options to do what you need to do with this software. As you go about editing videos, you're going to develop your own process and what works best for you. And that, I think you'll find, is going to change depending on the project you're working on, what you're trying to do at the time. Sometimes I lean more towards using this part here, sometimes this part here. Again, just depends on what you're trying to do. So we have our clip, and we have it cut in the positions we need. You can see it cut right before the door closes. So now we want to cut to us walking down the stairs. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to show you another way that I make edits with the software. So let's expand this a little, because I'm now going to be using, I'm not going to open up that window. I'm going to make the cuts right here where we are. So down here, I could shrink, basically zoom out and zoom in. Nice little feature there. And so I've zoomed in on the clip, and what I want to find is that moment right before we hear that door closing. And I waited until I had him closing the door, or at that moment I was also reaching to flip the light switch. So again, I knew that there was some action that I could be cutting with. So it didn't look like, when we went from scene to scene, it didn't look like we were just standing there waiting and then the camera cuts to us. We were in the process of doing something and the camera just jumped, if you will. And we could have done this with multiple cameras, but we didn't need to, because we exited the frame of the shot in this case. But we wanted it to look like it was shot with multiple cameras, and it did maintain that continuity that we keep talking about. So there we go. I heard the squeak of the door. Now, before I do this, I'm going to use this button here to split the clip now. It's going to make a cut. The difference is it's going to leave both portions of the clip on the timeline. But before I do it, I'm going to select that clip. That's important because I don't want to make any unnecessary cuts. And I could actually have a clip on the timeline down below. We're not going to deal with that today. We'll look at that feature later. But I'm giving you this tip in advance, because if I didn't select that clip, it would make cuts to anything at this point in the movie. Basically, where we are right here, it would cut everything above and below that clip if I left it like this. But because I'm selecting the clip, it's only going to cut the clip. So now I click split, and I don't want this. This is fat, so I'm going to click delete, and I'm going to fill the gap. And it did exactly the same thing we could have done by opening up that other window. And very often nowadays, depending on what I'm doing, I tend to just play with the clips on the timeline. I find where I want to make the cut, I click cut, I delete, and it works really quickly doing it that way. So let's look at what we have. Let's see if that's a smooth transition. We'll go back here. We want to watch the movie, and here we go. And I think you can see that nice, smooth, continuous transition. And then we're going to do the same thing down here. We'll do it one more time just to take you through this process all over again. Let's use this clip here. So right now what we want is these two to be touching. When that blue line is there, they're touching. And we want it to look smooth. Now that's obviously not smooth, because it appears as if we walk down the stairs and then we walk down the stairs again. So what I want to do is actually I'm going to make some trims to both of these clips. And I think this will be good here. Let's make the cut and let's play it. Yeah, that's a good timing, I think. Just a couple extra steps down the stairs. I'm going to fill the gap here, but I want to cut this as well. And I think this is good. You get the perspective if I make the cut here. We're not completely down the stairs yet. Let's see how this looks. I will expand this window.
Well, it's a beautiful day for filming.
And there you go. So that's how to make those cuts, make those edits. Now, if this were it, of course, I'd have to still cut at the end of this, and there's some other edits I might have to make. If this is it, this is what I want to render. What I do is I go to produce, because I'm going to produce my video, and then you're going to select the file format that you want and where you want to save it. So you can see we're using the H.265, which is the latest video compression standard. It's becoming a popular standard. It's a good compression, good video format to render your videos in, because from what I've read, it allows your video to play more smoothly without problems on different social media sites like YouTube and Facebook, etc. So we have this set. I can select, do I want it to be a 1080p? Do I want it to be 4K? And you could, if this is shot in 1080p, I could upscale it to 4K, which I've seen some people discuss that oftentimes, say you're loading your video on YouTube, it's not shot in 4K, but you upload it as a 4K video, you upscale it so that it's being rendered as a 4K video. It's now going to play with a different bit rate, and that is going to improve the video quality. But let's say we just wanted to render it as it is. Here, like I said, I find the folder. So maybe I have a folder here. Maybe it's in my the vlog trip that I want to save it. I want it in that folder with those files, and it could be vlog part 1. This is the first part of it we're leaving. Now I click save, and then I click start, and it's going to render. And now my recommendation here is when you're rendering your video, just leave the computer alone. Just let it render. I haven't experimented much with this with my new computer, which is already over a year old, but with this computer, the capabilities, the responsiveness, little glitches that I experienced before, this computer is much better. The glitches are gone, the responsiveness is improved, but on previous computers that I would render videos with, I would find if I was playing around and doing different stuff while I let it render because I was bored, I would end up having a video that might have little stutters or little glitches throughout it. So I just let the computer do what it's doing. I don't want to take away from the task at hand. So I would click the start button and render the video. And there you go. You're all set to make some basic cuts. In the next lesson, we're going to look at how to add some basic effects, because that's obviously something that's missing here, and it's something that could add to the video, adding a fade at the beginning of the video. Perhaps I want to add a title at the end of the video. So we're going to look at those things in the next lesson. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you have any questions, let me know, and hopefully you'll get to work on making some basic cuts and rendering some simple videos and sharing them with your friends and family, or putting them out on social media to share, or perhaps promote your business. All right, we'll see you soon with the next lesson. Take care.